right, Frankie joins us. Frankie Flowers, that's the hat you're wearing right now.
Yeah, that's my alter ego.
Talking about gardening trends for 2018, the highlights, right?
Yeah, so gardening's gone through a lot of things over the last decade or so. Property sizes have diminished, so they're getting smaller. So people don't tend to garden as much or buy as much. But where it's happened is what happened in the 1970s, where indoor plants became very fashionable.
Terrariums.
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 Yes.
Geraniums in the terrarium.
Yeah, you just actually did a geranium and a terrarium together. Terrariums.
Hybrids.
Terrariums. I love it.
But it's great, though, for indoors, even the terrariums.
Yeah.
That's a new word. I'm going to use it all the time now.
But the popularity of indoor plants continues to grow, and there's been rapid studies showing the benefit of plants indoors for everybody from just a workplace to your own home environment, but as well as even to schools. So having kids in proximity to green really keeps them at ease and even allows them to focus more. And it's a little bit of people just wanting to get away from screen time.
I have a ton of plants in my house, and I notice a big difference just in the moisture in the house and how the whole house functions. I'm a big believer in it.
Yeah.
And if you want to do something like, I know like a lot of companies are putting green walls, which are great. If you're thinking about something like that in the house, are there things you have to be worried about? Can you have too much moisture? I mean, obviously mold and stuff like that.
There can. Some of those green wall systems are actually contained systems, so they actually have a pump and filter, and it's all quite good. You want to do your research as well, because you want to select the right plants for that green living wall. Sometimes people think, I'm going to do a herb wall inside the kitchen, and I'm going to pick it. Well, herbs need a lot of light, and so they're not really going to do well. So you want to make sure that you're really picking the right ones out there.
So it's kind of leads us to urban farming and what can do well.
Before we even get there, the indoor growing systems is something also that's become very popular, where people want those indoor herbs in the winter. They want to have that fresh culinary experience. And so now you're seeing a whole bunch of different systems. That's just a little tabletop system that has an LED light with aquaponics in the bottom, which means grown by water. And you're seeing these all over the place. Aero Garden was one of the first ones to come out that I've used a bunch of times. It's quite good. But this is what people really want. And as you were saying about the urban farm, as cities are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, there's less space for people to grow. We need to double food production by at least 50% by the next by 2050. That is to look at Ryerson. So if you look in that picture and you look in the background,
where is that?
You are looking.
Like where Ryerson?
It's just down the street. It's actually.
I know where Ryerson is, but where is it?
Yeah, that's on top of the Sears building.
Oh, really? Okay.
Wow.
So if you look and you're looking towards that photo, that's our backyard right here at City TV.
And I suggest there is nothing better than eating food that you've grown yourself. It somehow tastes better.
It really does. Well, then you can control it. There's community plots, so those are, you can even rent space. So if you ever want to rent space, the other part too is when you say nothing tastes better, this whole trend towards people growing their own food and wanting farm-to-table experiences is now falling into restaurants as well. So the other trend we're finding is restaurants now are jumping in. This is a restaurant in Copenhagen that's on a rooftop that has its own rooftop farm, and when you go for a dining experience, you actually eat inside the greenhouse.
Wow.
Well, the island, Toronto Island Cafe, right? The islands are one of my favorite places to go. The Toronto Island Cafe has their own garden that they'll pick from, and it's a lot of seasonal stuff. And then they have the kale garden, and it's about 20 by 20 feet. And you can come every Tuesday night when they do it through the summer, and you can pick. And on that 20 by 20 foot little space, they were pulling out about 500 pounds of kale for the season.
And
it's phenomenal, and it's sitting right there for you. It's amazing, and it does taste so good.
It's a superfood.
You got it. And probably the one thing that everybody's talking about right now in the world of gardening is cannabis. So what's going to happen when you can grow the 4 plants at home? How is this going to affect? How are people going to do it? Where are they going to get the seeds from? Where are they going to get transplants from? There's a lot still yet to be determined. A YTD is what I would call it. But this is going to get a lot of people into gardening where they're going to experience just growing something, and hopefully they have a positive experience, and then they'll start to grow their own tomatoes and grow other things.
Do we have to worry about cannabis at home with children and pets and the effects of that?
Well, not necessarily. You know, I think you want to be aware of many of those things, and there's still a lot yet to be determined, even in terms of legality.
So YTD.
Yeah.
But I mean, the reality is if you have plants like poinsettias and other plants that can be poisonous, you have to watch where they're growing and how they're growing and what's around them with kids and things like that.
Well, castor beans, for instance. Castor beans is an ornamental plant that the bean itself is extremely poisonous. So there's
Mistletoe?
lots. Mistletoe is poisonous, which we said a couple weeks ago. Yeah. But just to end off as well, I want to tell you to look forward to what's going to be in 2019. 2019 is the color of the year that was released. That'll be in your plants. There it is.
So pretty.
It's called Living Coral. So that's by Pantone. So the color of spring of 2019. You heard it here first. Well, you haven't. It's been already announced. But on breakfast television, it is coral.
Living coral.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Got to get those in the garden then.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Well, you don't have to. If you like
too.
it, you're just going to see a lot of it. You're going to see a lot even in fashion as well.
All right. Yeah. Perfect, right? Thanks very much.
Thanks.